Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so Lakers. First of all, I want to thank everybody who engages on my channel and the comment section and the likes and all of that. I never ask for those things, but I do appreciate them. So I want people to know that when you do decide to do that, it reaches me, and I try to respond to all of them, which is growth on my end because I used to not do that. I used to be concerned about how I would react to certain troll stuff, but I haven't had too much negativity at all, and I appreciate all of you for checking me out. And I do this for fun and not for a living, so that gives me all the leverage in the world to basically handle my business in regards to keeping my leverage and saying what I need to say without anybody filtering it out. But I still try to naturally, with my own character, be respectful of people while trying to toe that line of telling the truth and being cold-blooded about it. And that's what I tried to do with my video earlier today. I was cold, man. I'm really passionate about my team being successful, about the league putting out a good product. And I'm not compromising in a sense to say, oh, it's going to mess up my connections if I tell the truth, or it's going to mess up my connections if I'm cold, in my delivery. I reserve the right to be that regardless. And with respect for everybody, feelings in everybody's position. I'm not asking people to accept everything I say either, but I'm gonna do just what I know I should in regards to trying to get us to where we need to go. So, for those who checked out the Figueroa parade conversation, that's really what that was about. It had nothing to do with no parade down Figueroa. It was essentially me saying, this is what I think needs to be done in order for us to see parades down Figueroa. And I don't know that we're doing those things. And we need to go down the path that's going to get us that bottom line. And if we're not on that path, this is a problem. And that's essentially where I was at with it. I wasn't necessarily reminiscing on anything or nothing like that. But, yeah, man. So as we go forward next, we got the Denver Nuggets. And I've yet to do any homework on the Nuggets, but I know Russell Westbrook's starting to find his footing there. What does that mean? It means he came off of a triple-double very recently, after starting off very poorly with the team. And of course, he's doing that in the absence of Jokic, so he's had more playmaking responsibilities, I'd imagine. The Denver Nuggets, just from afar, what I can say is Christian Braun. You talk about a guy who's consistent. My God, I don't know that I found a more consistent basketball player in basketball right now. He might be the most consistent basketball player in the NBA today. Christian Braun. Period. He's giving you the same thing every night. It's uncanny, really. It's like, damn, dude, the same 14 points, 2 steals, 5 boards, every single night. It's crazy. I haven't seen anybody be that consistent with their production since Bogdan Bogdanovic with the Indiana Pacers. Bogdan used to be like that. Every night you can count on the same stats. Christian Braun, he is unbelievable when it comes to Groundhog Day, bro. And sis, whoever's listening to me, I love saying bro, but you get the point. This dude, we're going to know that he's developing very well, man. Very well. He's extremely strong. We know that. He's one of the players that come to mind when I think of players that have done a good job on LeBron James. That young fella has done a really good job on LeBron James at times he's been put on it. Even as a rookie, he did a decent job on LeBron James when put on him. So I have a lot of respect for that player. I like what he brings to the table. He's not a particularly great shooter, but his production is Groundhog Day, statistically. And so you're going to pay attention to him going forward with the Nuggets. He has a much bigger role, and he's showing up in the presence of people being out, man. So I think that's something to pay attention to. Jamal Murray, I don't know where he's at with his health. I know they just paid him a big contract. I have all the respect for Jamal Murray's capability because obviously he's done it to us. The best thing he ever did was shoot us down twice in the playoff. But the point is, he's somebody that we're going to, of course, have to deal with. He's going to show up against us just like Naz Reid. If they don't show up for any games, they're going to show up for the purple and gold, for sure. So, with Russell Westbrook being as it is, I would say we need to worry about Russell Westbrook wanting to tear our heads off. But the thing about Russell, man, and you guys know this as well as I do, he's usually the best player on the other team. That's what it really comes down to with Russell. He's going to give you the ball. Turnovers are coming. Brick shots are coming. Ill-advised decision-making is coming. So I don't find myself fearing Russell Westbrook at all, because for every good thing he do, he's going to do something down the stretch. It's going to make his team worse. And that's just what we've learned over years. Years and years of watching him play. That's just what it is. But, you know, if he ever puts it all together, he can be a dangerous player, to say the least, in his older age, you know. You want to respect him and all he's accomplished. He's done things we've never seen anybody else do in this era. You know, triple-double legend, just got his 200 triple-double. But that Laker tenure it just took all of the faith that I had in this player out of me. I don't have any in him at all. And it's unfortunate, because I think he's a solid dude. I've always heard of good things that he's done off the court. You know, he's a really kind person, from what I understand, respectful, you know, stand-up dude in his community. So it's like, from somebody from Los Angeles, it ain't the most fun for me to speak like this. But it's just a production on the court, man. For every good thing he do something bad at the end and ends up hurting his team, man. So if I'm sitting up here saying we got to watch out for Russell Westbrook, I just say keep your arms open, because he's going to give you the ball. And that's on him to turn that around. That's on him to incorporate better decision-making into his play as a veteran. And if he's not going to do that, then people who talk like I do are going to be right. That's it. So, and now that we're going up against him, I know that he would want nothing more than to have his best game against us. I would obviously be poised to tell you that he's more than capable of doing great things. But I'm also poised to tell you that I'm expecting him to do something bad, right? And it's going to play right in the Lakers' favor. And that's just what I expect to see. So I hope I'm right. You know, if as a Laker fan, I hope I'm right. And, you know, in that same breath, it's difficult now that we see how that trade turned out, that we traded for the Utah Jazz to give us, you know, the 3 players that we got. I think we've been a better team. Obviously, we went to the Western Conference Finals with this trade being made that same year. You know, we got better. I think it's obvious we got better. Problem is, now that I look at how that trade played out, I don't know that I don't just regret it, given the fact that we had to give up a first-round pick. I almost think I would have preferred the path that would have allowed us to have that $47 million coming off the books and being able to use that in free agency. Am I crazy? Because look, Vanderbilt, that's one piece. Beasley, that was the other piece. D'Lo's the other piece, and we gave up a first-round pick. How much of that are we so happy to have now? None of it. None of it, man. As soon as we got D'Lo, he became a negative asset. Can't get off of him for nothing. And did he show up in the playoffs in any of them years? Not really. I thought he had an okay playoffs last year. The year before that, it was bad. The foot calluses had a lot to do with that, and we documented that conversation more than I heard anyone else talk about it. But I mean, that's what just it was. You know, that didn't take away from the fact that it was bad for us. You know what I mean? Like, we can point out why it doesn't have to be his fault in order for it to be regrettable on our end. You know what I mean? That's what it really comes down to. And as we're sitting here trying to figure out how to get what we need, and we look up and we have non-athletic players, you know what I mean, in most of these situations, I don't know that I'm happy with the return that we got for Russell Westbrook, man. And I don't know that if we couldn't have just played out the season being as bad as we were, ruled it out, probably not make the Western Conference Finals, for which maybe I'm a spoiled fan, but it ain't no difference in getting knocked out in the first round if you get knocked out by the Nuggets. Third round, first round, it don't make no difference. Still getting knocked out by the Nuggets. I don't know that I just don't benefit from keeping my pick. Like, to be honest with you. So hindsight is 2020. Obviously, nobody knew what was going to be. Nobody expected all of this to play out the way it did. Nobody thought Beasley was going to come in and forget how to shoot. Nobody thought Vanderbilt was going to get hurt and be hurt for 2 years damn near, or whatever it's been. Nobody thought that D'Lo was going to struggle as badly as he did. You know what I mean? Nobody saw any of that coming. I was happy the trade was made when it was made. So I'm not sitting up here saying, you shouldn't have done that as it pertains to, we were unhappy about it. Nah, this ain't that. It's just, when you look at how it played itself out, I could have just as well just went forward with what I had. Got all that money that came from Russell Westbrook walking. Because to be honest with you, I don't think I got anything for his exit. Yes, we received a package of those players, but I gave up a pick. That pick is worth more to me than those players right now. If I could trade D'Lo, Vanderbilt for a pick right now, I would trade both of them for a first-round pick right now. You can have them for a first-round pick. And $47 million coming off of my books. I'm sorry. Hindsight is the only thing I'm going by right now. It's not necessarily anything other than me just looking at and seeing the result of how that went and just kind of fine with not making the trade. I wouldn't have been fine with watching that basketball in the second half with Russell Westbrook on our team. Don't get it twisted. I would have been unhappy if we didn't make a trade. I just don't know that the trade we made really turned out to be the better outcome for us. Now that we're in this space where Beasley's in Detroit playing like who we thought he would be when he was with us. Vando's been hurt ever since we got him. And D'Lo has been a little better than Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? He's been a little better than Russell. That's about as much as I can say for that. Not a first-round pick's worth. I'll tell you that. And given the fact that we can't get nothing for him, it's not good. At least Russell Westbrook we could actually trade at an expiring 47. Can we even move D'Lo at expiring 20 or whatever it is? I don't know, man. I just want my pick back, truth be told. I feel like Utah has plenty of first-round picks. They already got a roster full of first-round talent. They do not need our first-round pick. They really don't. And so for me, when I look at the assets we need to get the players that we need, I see them over in Utah. That's what I see. Trading away picks to undo mistakes that cost picks to acquire. And that's 2 first-round picks when you consider the trade that we made to get Russell Westbrook, which was probably even worse than the trade we made to get rid of him. Bringing him here, that trade was just, that was an abomination. An absolute abomination. You gave away KCP NBA champion, Kyle Kuzma NBA champion, and a first-round pick to bring yourself Russell Westbrook, who you turned around and traded a first-round pick to get rid of. and it's hard for me to argue that Rob Pelinka should keep his job after how this is all played out, man. It's hard to argue that. I'm just being real, man. When you look at these type of mistakes, those 2 in a nutshell, those mistakes alone make you really unhappy when looking at Rob Pelinka. And there's a bunch of other stuff that we can add to that as well when looking at Rob Pelinka. That it was awful in how it ultimately played out. Maybe it didn't look all that bad on paper when it happened, but surely played out horribly. So we've had this conversation a million times. This ain't new. We've talked about the problems with this roster and the rotations. You know, what we have in place right now could be better. We know that. But I don't know if it really isn't a waste of breath complaining about Rob Pelinka. Because at the end of the day, I don't know how close Jeannie is to being fed up with any of this, to be honest with you. I don't know how close she is to being fed up with anything. But, you know, I'll say this. Maybe the presence of J.J. Redick kind of shifts some things a little bit in regards to that. You got to be excited about your coach now. And that's something we could always say, nah, we don't like our coach. He ain't no good, etc. In this point, you can say that you have a good coach. You know what I mean? So getting him the right pieces will put you in a position to probably win something eventually. And so that's what I would tell Jimmy. Like, we got to make sure that we make good decisions with the pieces that we have in place right now. I understand a lot of people want to make trades to make this team better, but I'm worried that in the event we do something like that, if it involves moving picks, we're just doing more of the same stuff that we did to get ourselves in a situation, and maybe that's going to be very regrettable when we look at it later on. And so that's really what it is. Yesterday we argued about maybe making a trade with the Brooklyn Nets that'll bring us back a Cam Thomas or a Cam Johnson, and it'll probably cost a pick. And, maybe there's a sweet medium to all of this, in making a trade that can both help us in the short term and maybe make us richer in the long term. I don't know what that looks like really, and I don't want to poo-poo it at this point when I look at our roster and our coach and feel like we can win. But I'm not really in the business of moving picks or supporting moving picks anymore. I'm not, man. Even if it's something that's going to look pretty good, I just don't feel all that comfortable doing it at this point. And, I was listening to somebody this morning. I don't remember exactly who said it, but they were essentially talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves and trying to convince their fan base that being, flexibility of the future's worth doing the Randall trade and all this other stuff. And to be honest with you, I'm already thinking like that as a fan. You don't have to convince me to think that way. You got to convince me not to. The future flexibility of my franchise is the most important thing to me. It really is. I know that LeBron James and Anthony Davis tenure is the most important thing to a lot of people. And maybe I don't get nothing better than LeBron and AD in the future, as to which that flexibility is all for naught. You never really know. But for me, I just feel like flexibility is what makes sure that my team is not god-awful in the future. And as somebody who sat through the Robert Sacre era, I don't ever want to go through that again. And I think flexibility can keep you from having to deal with that type of ineptitude. If we're going to be bad, let's be Washington bad, with a bunch of young players that we can look at and grow with. Not Philly bad, not Brooklyn bad. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to be one of those teams that has a bunch of vets and you still got to tank because your team can't win against the field. That's what foregoing your flexibility signs you up for. In a lot of cases, a whole lot of cases. You know what I'm saying? So for me, while capturing the peak of what Bron and AD can do at this stage, I got to weigh that against how bad we can look if we do the wrong thing. I got to weigh it against the understanding that we've already won a championship. It's not like this has been a failure. We're chasing something. You know what I mean? This core has already solidified itself in that way. So it's like, if we can't absolutely build something that's going to make us richer, both champion-worthy in the short term and flexible in the long term, then I'm not really ready to forego my flexibility for another opportunity at a championship that may not actually end in one. We end up getting another Western Conference Finals outage, I'm gonna be livid. That's not worth the sacrifice to me. And as I look back on it, it ain't worth it to me now when I consider the trade that we made to get Russell Westbrook out of here that got us to the Western Conference Finals. I don't take any pride in getting to the Western Conference Finals. Spoiled Laker fan, I guess. No pride in that. We got ousted by the Denver Nuggets and didn't win a single game. It was fun in the moment when we were beating Memphis and, getting past Golden State. We like those bragging rights. That's cool. But, in the grand scheme of things, I just found myself looking at it and saying, I got ousted by the Nuggets 2 years in a row. Win, first round, Western Conference Finals, same thing. Same team knocked me out 2 years in a row. So I don't think it's worth it to me, not as a fan. Giving up all of my flexibility, signing myself up for a bad team for 5 and 6 years in a row that can't even tank because it foregoed everything so it could have that opportunity, it ain't worth it. Ain't worth it. So I'm gonna sing that tune until people agree with me, I guess. That we need to leave ourselves flexibility, even if it means foregoing an opportunity to make the Western Conference Finals. Because if we can't beat the Celtics with what it is we're building, it ain't worth it. If we can't beat the Nuggets with what it is we're building, it ain't worth it. And so, you know, if you can find a way to get something that can, or as I say, find a way to get something that is good enough to be retraded for more than what it's worth now, then of course you want to do a trade like that. But how can you guarantee such things is what I always argue against that. How can you guarantee it? Even if you bring yourself the nice young player that looks like he's going to be a star someday, there's a lot of different scenarios where he doesn't turn out to be that. And then you've given away what you're giving away, assuming you're going to be able to retrade him for something you're not going to get back when you try to trade him. Can't let it happen. In my book, the risk for our circumstance is riskier than I'm comfortable with. Now, maybe you say, well, we're going to get a free agent anyway. I'll just say that we've already been through an era where we didn't have flexibility and free agents chose away from us. So that's not guaranteed. So if you can show me Luka Doncic is already committed to coming to the Lakers in 2028, then we can make decisions that make sense in regards to that. But if you can't prove that to me, don't expect me to buy that a broadened understanding that we're just going to get some great somebody just because we're us is going to be in place if we don't have what I call it, our books clean. You know, flexibility essentially and picks. Without that, I think you're going to have a hard time getting a competent superstar in place. You may get a fool who will sign with the Lakers just because they're the Lakers and they don't have no flexibility and he can't get out of the first round. Hey, you're going to sign that idiot, but that's not who we want. We want somebody who's going to help us win championships and who's going to be able to identify a good situation as he signs with it. And that's very important to me, not just getting a superstar, but who are you getting? Don't bring me a moron. You know what I mean? Like, with all due respect, they're out there, and you can't win with them. So that's really what it comes down to. I want the Lakers to be as successful as humanly possible, and we have already thrown away first-round picks and flexibility in this era to no avail. The team is not good enough to win right now because of it. Let's not continue doing the same things that put us in this situation in the future. So that's really my take on that. I know that's not a new conversation. In fact, it's a very common conversation on this channel. But I think it's always worth having, because the more times I have that conversation, the more it's out there in the ethos from which to grab from. And that's really the goal, is to make people understand that this is something we should be thinking about as fans. We need to be thinking about this as fans, man, at all times. Not just in regards to what the big wigs are talking about and behind the scenes, but what we're asking for and what we're putting pressure on the team to do. Because a lot of times the front office is trying to weather the storm in regards to the pressure that the fans are putting on them. So if we're informed enough to know what's best for our health of our franchise and what's worth it, then we could put the pressure on them to do things that make sense instead of things that don't, for the sake of the casual. The casual doesn't know nothing but I want to win. That's what I would tell anybody who's listening to me. Casual fan don't know nothing about nothing until it's time to get a victory. Then if he's getting the victory, he's happy. If he ain't getting the victories, he's ready to make trades. You ain't never gonna make him happy unless you're winning. So you got to do the things that he don't know nothing about that leads you to being good enough for him to win. And sometimes in the short term that makes him unhappy. And that's just because he doesn't know what it takes to get what ultimately he truly wants. He just knows that when he sees it, he likes it. Can't make him happy in the short term. It's impossible to make him happy unless you're doing the things that he don't want you to do in the short term to secure that you have what he needs to win. And so that's what I tell, Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss. That's what I tell them. People like to win, man. That's it. You can bring them their favorite superstar. If that superstar starts losing, they're going to turn on them. That's literally it. You bring everybody everything they want. If they find out they don't like it, they want you to undo it. Simple. It wasn't what I thought. Get it out of here. Can't. What do you mean it can't? Fire you. That's how they end up acting. It's like, man, fire me. I brought you this crap. And now you don't like it? It can't win? And that's the casual's going to keep on putting that pressure on them. ESPN's going to cater to the casual, whether it's a disingenuous thing to do or not, they're going to continue to push off the whatever. The Lakers need to go all in. This player needs to do all that. It's like, you know damn well that player can't do all that without certain things in place. That's not our problem. The people are asking for this, and we're going to pander to them. It's like, all right, cool. But there needs to be some type of conversation in the ether, in the atmosphere, that brings some clarity to what is real and the bullcrap that you're doing to make Mr. Casual happy. The stuff that you're willing to say on ESPN that ain't possible. It doesn't hold a lot of nuance to it, but would ultimately gather the mind of the casual to sit there and listen. You know what I mean? That's not informing all of us of what the possibilities of what the options actually are. Giving us realistic expectations and responsible demands upon our franchises. And so that's what my responsibility is, to help us there to the best of my ability. And that's what you follow me for, man. I don't believe in letting people stand stupid and then continue to try to have them garnered, giving me attention for pandering to their stupidity. It's called teaching people something. That's the best way. You mold the world with the truth, and not continuing to feed into the lies so that they'll keep coming back to you. That's people were doing it wrong. They've been doing it wrong for a long time, and that's why you have so many people demanding the wrong things, demanding stuff that's going to make them unhappy. No, sir, not in sports. We don't need to do that. So that's really my point of view, man. And I take a lot of pride in that. I don't pretend to be a cap expert. I definitely don't pretend to understand this apron era. I understand it enough to tell you that a lot of trades that should be realistic are not. I understand it well enough to tell you that, though. Not to expect a whole lot of movement come trade deadline this year. Don't. If we get trades, great. But they have effectively made it very difficult for that to be possible, and we need to have those expectations going into it. You know what I mean? People are not going to take on trades that don't absolutely feel worth it to them. And some of them would love to make trades but can't make trades, just like you, based on circumstances within that CBA. We want to put pressure on the NBA to change the CBA. That's what you do. Instead of putting pressure on your GM to make irresponsible trades, use your voice to tell them to change that stupid CBA so that it would be possible to do those trades. See what I'm saying? Responsible fans making responsible demands. And ignoring people who are going to continue to pander to our ignorance with jargon that feeds that instead of feeding us the truth. You know what I mean? So that's really what I got to say about that. And yeah, I'm running out of time to speak at this point. I got to clear up my phone a little bit. Got a couple videos uploading, so I don't really have the ability to speak much longer. But, you know, we'll be ready for the game tomorrow against the Denver Nuggets. That game, I believe, is at 7 or 7:30, somewhere in the nighttime, here in Los Angeles once again. And then we go on the road, I believe, for Phoenix and San Antonio. And after that, I think we see Utah again or something like that. OKC, Utah, I think that's how that goes. OKC, Utah. So, yeah. And then, from what I understand, we got a nice long road trip that's going to have us on the East Coast again. So, it's a lot of movement early in the season to the East Coast. 2 heavy East Coast road trips before we even reach Christmas, which I think in the long run could really pay dividends. But hopefully this go round we can have an actual good road trip, because the last one obviously was very bad. So that's something that we need to do a better job of winning on the road. And you know, if the Lakers can do that, I think we'll be in a good space in the second half of the season to kind of take advantage of a bit more Western Conference play than probably we're used to in the second half of the season. You know, a little more in theory. I got to look at the schedule to know that what I'm saying is true. But it seems to me if we're having all these East Coast trips right now, we're probably going to be in a position to kind of spend more time in the West in the second half. So, yeah, man. It's pretty much where I'm at with it, man. I don't expect no trades, man. I don't think anybody should. If we happen to see trades, great. But expecting them, I think, is a mistake at this point. So that's pretty much what I got to say, man. I appreciate everybody for rocking with BDF 44, and I'm out.